It all started when I had the urge to play my old Pokemon White. Sadly, I couldn't find the game, even though I could have sworn I'd stashed it in a drawer. After being a bit disappointed, I decided to go to GameStop and simply buy a new one. The next day, I went to the game store and bought a used Pokemon White. And while I was there, I ended up buying an action replay since my last one's been broken for a while now. Once I reached the couch at my house, I inserted the game into my DS and began to play. The intro was completely normal and nothing out of the ordinary even happened. After the intro, I got hit with an idea that intrigued me. I then reset and grabbed my action replay and inserted the Pokemon game into it. After the action replay did its intro showing all the available games you could hack, it then directed me to the Pokemon White codes. I quickly scanned through the ones that were fairly decent for now until I felt like adding more via the internet. I then saw they added a Pokemon modifier with a list of all Pokemon which, if chosen, would appear in the wild by pressing select. I went to the new legendary Pokemon and thought of which one I should choose to accompany my starter. For some strange reason, the Pokemon Moloetta caught my eye, and I remembered reading about it online. I chose it and began the Pokemon game. When it started, once again, the normal intro started. I pressed A and the game skipped to the usual selection: continue or new game. The other options did not appear for some reason, but I didn't care since I would simply start a new game anyway. I usually click continue to see what the person before me had accomplished, but I was in a hurry to play. I erased the previous save file and then chose the new game option. The game started up and did the usual intro, where the professor does the normal explanation of Pokemon and asks you about yourself. After that was done, my character info was name, Silver, as I name all the protagonists of the Pokemon games, gender, male. After a couple hours of playing, I had caught the Moloetta I'd wanted and got around the second gym. After completing the Pinwheel Forest event, I found out that Moloetta could learn a special move called Relic Song. This made me more interested into the game itself. I also found out that you must go to a certain place. I can't really remember where though. You have to talk to some music player and Moloetta would come out and instantly learn this move. I tried this many times, but sadly, each time I tried, nothing happened. I knew there was only two reasons why this didn't work. One, it has to be some sort of event Moloetta. Or two, I had to beat the entire game for this to happen. So I assumed I had to beat the game. After a whole day of playing, I had successfully gotten to the last gym, and of course, needed only the final badge before I could continue to the Elite Four and the final battle within. Once I was in Opelucid City, I was directed, by this I mean my character had moved on its own, to a lady who looked like she was playing a flute. My character then began to talk to her. The lady simply played music that sounded off-tune and unpleasant. My Moloetta released itself from its Pokeball and began to dance to this strange tune. After the disturbing song was over, the message, "Moloetta has learned Relic Song," came onto the screen. It did not give me the option of racing one of Moloetta's moves. I didn't really care because my Moloetta had finally learned the move. I now know that was a mistake. Then, I got into a battle with the young lady that had taught my Moloetta the move. She sent out her Siglith, as I did with my Moloetta. I wasn't able to select a move. Instead, Relic Song was picked. My Moloetta went first and had used the attack. The screen went pitch black and I could hear the cry of the Siglith at an incredibly higher pitch. The screen went back to normal and the Siglith had drooped down, looking somewhat different, and had made its final cry before dropping down like a Pokemon that had fainted. Though nothing showed up saying that the Pokemon had fainted. Instead, the battle just ended. When I returned to the overworld, the lady who I had battled was nowhere to be seen. I began to think about the move. Whether what happened was supposed to happen. I used the move on countless other trainers near the city, and it seemed that each time I used it, it would always end up hitting and instantly knocking out the opponent's Pokemon, and the trainers were gone afterwards. I also ended up battling Iris, but each time I beat her, she never gave me the badge. It always said after her loss,
"You're not worthy of this badge."
This made me angry, and I shut the game off. After a few weeks, I picked it back up and began to play it again. I forgot which city I had been in by that point, and when I went to the overworld, I was in a forest of some kind. I couldn't look at my map, and I couldn't use any items or Pokemon that had the move Fly. The only thing I could do was check my trainer card. I hesitated for a while, but eventually worked up the courage and pressed A. The trainer was different, to say the least. His face was pale, and his eyes were blank, with dark rings under them. His clothes were disheveled, his bag was ripped open, and his jacket was just gone. I exited out of the profile and tried to get out of the forest. Sadly, each time I entered what was supposed to be a new part of the forest, I would just return to the same place. After doing this for over half an hour, I got annoyed. I decided to try one last time. When I did, it seemed that I got lucky and entered a new section of the map. I continued on walking until I reached the end. It looked like the area where you faced the final Team Plasma Grunt at the end of the Pinwheel Forest event. I walked to the middle where what looked like a Moloetta was standing. My character began to move by itself again and ended up talking to the Moloetta. The Pokemon looked at my character and began singing a song. The tune was near the same as the one played by the Lady Dopelucid, except it was higher pitched and kind of had an almost Lavender Town feel to it. A battle then commenced, and Moloetta was on the other side. I sent out my starter, which was now a Samurai. The level difference was pretty big. My Pokemon's level was a lowly 72 compared to Moloetta's level 99. I checked my team and was sad to discover only my faithful Samurai was left. Moloetta and every other Pokemon that I had caught had simply vanished. The battle started, and of course, Moloetta went first. Except, she didn't use Relic Song, which was a complete surprise to me, but instead used Curse. Since Moloetta was a non-ghost type move, the move only raised its stats. My Samurai then used Hydro Pump, which did absolutely nothing. The Moloetta used Curse once again, while I tried another ineffective Hydro Pump. The next turn, Moloetta finally used Relic Song, which made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. The song from before began to play again. This time, however, something about it just sounded wrong. It left you with a sick, disturbing feeling, like you stumbled into your worst waking nightmare. The screen faded to black and just stayed that way. I reset the game and it still had the continue option, but when it loaded up, I was back in Opelucid City. I've battled Iris time and time again. Each time I've tried doing something different, anything different. But the exact same thing always happens. My character never gets that final badge. I'm always told, no, I'm never worthy enough. I don't really understand this, but I've come to the conclusion that the person who obviously hacked this game to such a disturbing degree possibly tried to make the player think. Think about life, that everything doesn't always go as planned, that you don't always get what you want, that the hero doesn't always succeed, that your closest friend just might be your biggest threat.